Hello again, grade 11, and welcome back to our statistics and probability class. This will be our fourth week, right? So before I start, I need to share my screen, okay? And this will be our topic. This is about the normal random variable, okay? So first things first is what is a normal random variable? Okay, so ano nga ba yun? This one. So these are just our objectives. Okay, when we say normal random variable or the normal distribution, this is a continuous probability distribution. Okay, as you can still remember, we have two types of probability distribution, right? The first one that we already did was called as the discrete, correct? Discrete random variable. And for this one, we call it as normal random variable, or the other name for this one is the continuous normal random variable. Okay? So kapag sinabing normal, that is actually the continuous. Okay? So anong differences nung two? Anong differences nung two? Again, so the term normal refers to the fact that this kind of distribution occurs in many different kinds of common measurements. Okay? So if you can still remember the difference of those two, kapag sinabing discrete random variable, ang ating mga data is actually a whole number. Correct? Those are actually whole numbers. And for what uh, for the continuous probability distribution, ang ating mga data are yung merong mga sobra-sobra, right? Those are examples. Examples are numbers with decimals or fractions. So kung may decimal ang mga yan, okay, that is now part of the normal random variable. Okay, so ano yung mga sinasabing common measurements dito? For example, the height of people in the population follows a normal distribution, right? Again, a normal distribution is actually the continuous probability distribution. Okay, so tapos na tayo sa discrete, let us now proceed to the continuous or what we call as the normal distribution. Okay, para may idea lang sa normal random variable, a continuous random variable of a normal distribution. Okay, so continuous, decimals. And those are the normal numbers that we can see in data. Eh, kasi hindi naman normally na puro lahat, puro lahat is whole number. So meron tayo mga decimals. Normal curve, okay, represents a normal distribution which is defined by the following probability density function. So we will use this function later. Okay, we will use this function later. Ito yung function na sinasabi. Kapag hinahanap, again, kapag hinahanap ang probability density function, ito yung ating gagamitin. Okay, where this one as the mean, okay, as the mean of our distribution, and this sigma is represent the standard deviation of the distribution, and we have this pi. Of course, you all know about this pi. This equals 3.14, 15, and so on and so forth. But we are just using 3.1415, right? And then for the e is the natural number, which is approximately equal to 2.71828, so on and so forth. And for this e, we're just using 2.7182. Okay? So yun yung mga ibig sabihin ng bawat part regards as a normal curve probability density function. Okay? Again, we will use this one at the end of our class kasi may mga questions doon na hinihingi yung probability density function. Okay? It doesn't mean, for example, there's a problem and then hinahanap yung probability density function. It doesn't mean that we need to find the exact or the final answer for this kind of formula. Okay, so ano lang ang gagawin natin? We will just give the function itself. Ang function na sinasabi dito is only part of f of x. Ibig sabihin, nakukunin natin yung sagot ng mismong f of x. Okay, did you understand that one? Again, ang kukunin lang natin sa probability density function is yung function itself. Kung ano yung nakikita nyo dyan, yan ang ating final answer. Of course, we need to substitute or change yung kung meron tayong mga given, but not the value of f of x as a number. Okay? Only the function or the formula itself ating gagawin. Hindi yung hahanapin yung mismong sagot ng ating density function. Okay? You will understand that more kapag nasa examples na. Standard normal distribution. The most common example of normal distribution with a mean of 0 and the standard deviation of 1. Okay? So ano ibig sabihin ng standard normal distribution na yan? This means that we will use formulas to find those distributions doon sa ating normal curve. Okay? So ano-anong mga yan? So we have such interpretations of the scores using the mean and standard deviation. Right? So kapag meron tayong 0 as a mean and 1 as a standard deviation, that is what we call a standard normal distribution. But what if we have a different value of mean and different value of standard deviation? So we can use these 6 formulas presented here. And to the next slide. Okay? So scores above the mean. For example, this is the mean. Okay, yung paano makukuha yung mga scores na nasa ilalim. Okay, so we can use mean plus the standard deviation is the score 1 standard deviation above the mean. Okay, so if this one is the mean, and if you will step down 1 step, okay, you can use mean plus standard deviation only. And if you will step 2, okay, you can use the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation. Okay, and then if you will step 3 from the mean 1, 2, and 3, you can use the theta, or the mean actually, plus 3 multiplied by standard deviation. Okay, so those are the scores above. Oh, no, sorry. This one is the mean, there's an above. Okay. So step 1, mean plus standard deviation. Step 2, mean plus 2 times standard deviation. And step 3, mean plus 3 times standard deviation. Okay? Ano naman yung mga nasa below? Ayan, dapat yung word na below. Scores below the mean, okay? We will just change kung yung sa above is plus, yung sa ilalim naman or below is minus. Okay? The naman is minus. Ayan. So kapag doon sa tinatawag natin na above the mean, we need to do plus. Okay? And then if below the mean, we need to use minus. Okay, so same formula, but in different operations. Okay, so those are the 6 important formulas that you need to know para mas ma-interpret natin kung ano ba yung talagang nasa normal curve na scores natin from this side and this side. Okay, so how can we determine if nasaan yung below and above na yan? Okay, using if we have a parallel line, okay, in the normal curve. So para makuha yan is we need to draw something like this. Okay, for example, we have here a line. Concerning line ko, this straight. And we have here another line. Okay. For example, this will be our mean. Ito yung mean natin. Okay. So when we say below the mean, since it is negative, so it will start from here up to there. Ito yung mga below. Okay. These are below the mean. And the numbers from the mean going to the right, those are above. Okay? Basta tandaan ninyo kapag below is the negative side, yung above is the positive side. So we will use plus here and we will use minus here. Okay? So yun yung pinaka shortcut ng ating formula. Okay, you just need to remember those 6. Okay? Okay, let's try some examples just like this. Determine the approximate location in terms of the standard deviation. Okay? So, ano na andyan na yung ating standard deviation? So, we will use the 6 standard deviation formulas. Okay? Of the score x equals 75 that lies in a normally distributed set of scores with a mean of 95 and a standard deviation of 7.6. So the main question here is we will just find the approximate location. Approximate location ni 75. Okay? Approximate location ni 75 na score. Okay? So, paano malalaman yung kanyang location? We will use the formulas from below and above the B. So, paano malalaman? Nasa below ba siya? Or nasa above ba siya? So, we will find out. So, to find out that one is we have such a solution process here. Of course, the first one is determine whether the score is above or below the mean. Okay? The mean of the set of scores is 95, and the score that we are looking for is only 75. So from here, we are sure that the score, which is 75, is lie below the mean. Correct. Kasi mas mababa naman siya sa 95. So nasa below siya. So nandito siya sa left part. And that's the first solution. You need to determine. Number 2, determine the scores 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations below the mean. Since we already know na ang gagamitin natin mga formulas is from below the mean, so uunahin natin yung isa. Yung mean minus standard deviation. That is the 1, correct? 1 standard deviation. So 1 standard deviation below the mean is 87.4. That is only 95 minus 7.6. Okay? So magsasubstitute lang tayo ng mga values per symbol and we will find the answer. So 1 standard deviation below the mean is 87.4. Next, 2 standard deviations below the mean. Okay, so ang ating formula will be mean minus 2 multiplied by standard deviation. So it will become 95 minus 2 times 7.6, and we have the answer 79.8. Okay, tandaan yung una is 87.4, yung pangalawa is 79.8. Okay, next one. The last one will be the 3 standard deviations below the mean. Of course, we have the formula mean minus the 3 multiplied by the standard deviation equals 95 minus the product of 3 and 7.6. We will minus them, and then the answer will be 72.2. Okay? After we solve for these three, we have 87.4, 79.8, and 72.2. Locate the score by comparing it to the scores of 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations below the mean. Okay? Since our score is 75, we can observe that this score is less than the 2 standard deviation, which is 79.8, but greater than 3 standard deviation, which is 72.2. So, yung score na 75 is in between 2 standard deviation and 3 standard deviation. Tama? Kasi ang 2 natin is 79.8, yung 3 naman natin is 72.2. So, yung 75 is at the middle or at the center. Okay? So, paano siya gagawing statement para makuha na natin yung approximate location ng ating example number 1. Thus, we can say that the scores lies between the score 2 standard deviations below the mean and the score 3 standard deviations below the mean. Okay? So we can use this statement from here up to here as our answer. Okay, pwede na yung statement na yan as our answer, and we can also use as an inequality. Okay, so we have this. How to understand this one? Since this is the 3 standard deviation is less than 75, or no, 75 is greater than 3 but less than 2 standard deviation. Okay, so nasa gitna siya in between. Okay, easy, right? So we will just find the approximate location. So, kailangan natin ng mga statements. Okay, example number 2. Ay, may sagot na. Sige, paano naging nakuha yung sagot na yan? Determine the approximate location in terms of the standard deviation of the score x as 96 that lies in a normally distributed set of scores with a mean of 86 in a standard deviation of 5. What is our first step? Our first step is to determine if the score, if that is below the mean or above the mean. Okay? Since 96 is greater than the mean, which is only 86, therefore x is above the mean. So ano yung mga formula natin na gamitin? Since we will not use the other part or the below, we will use the 3 formulas in, above, the mean. Ano yung mga yan? So we have hindi ako makasulat sa isa. Kinangalang. Okay, so we have the 3, we have the 0, the 0. Erase. Okay, so we have the formula mean plus the standard deviation. That's the first one. Okay, this is one. And then yung two standard deviations naman is mean plus. Why plus is because we are above the mean. 2 multiplied by the standard deviation. And then for the three standard deviations, we have the mean plus, pasensya sa sulat, just memorize the formulas. Okay, so we have those. Now let's find the first one. Mean plus standard deviation, which is 86 plus 5, we have 91. Correct? And then if we have two standard deviations, we need to multiply this one by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 86, we have 96. And for the third one, which is what we call the three standard deviations, we will multiply 5 by 3, so it will be 15. 15 plus 86, we have the answer as 101. Now, since our answer here is lies on the score two standard deviations above the mean. Yes. Ayan. Okay. Why it lies on the score two standard deviations? Because we can see here on this part, okay, nakuha natin yung 96 na score doon sa mismong two standard deviations. Okay, so that's why I have an answer here. It lies on the score two standard deviations above the mean. Okay, sabihin niyo, sir, paano kapag in symbols or paano siya in an equation? Okay, so we can use, wait. Mali. That x is equal to plus. So we can say, or we can also use this kind of equation. Okay, so we can use that x is equal to this two standard deviations above the mean. So I used plus. Okay, easy. That's for example number 2. Now, example number 3. There's also an answer. Okay, so for example number 3, determine the approximate location again in terms of the standard deviation of the score 63.8. That will be the given score. Note that we need to find its location. And that lies in a normally distributed set of scores with a mean of 85.6 and a standard deviation of 12.4. Okay, so we have the first step is to the determine what will be the location, if that is below the mean or above the mean. Okay, so we need to compare the mean and the score. Our mean is 85.6 and our score is 63.8. Okay, so therefore mean is greater than the 63.8, which is the given score. So therefore the formula that we need to use are the standard deviations below the mean. It's because 63.8 is less than 85.6. Okay, so if you use those formula, okay, I'll write it here. Mean minus is because it's below. Okay, tandaan nyo na pag minus below, kapag above, us. Okay, so what are their answers? So if we have 0, 0, mean minus standard deviation, we have 85.6 minus 12.4. We have the answer as 73.2, right? And then mean minus 2 standard deviation, or 2 times the standard deviation, we have the answer 60.8. Okay, and then the last one, if we have mean or 85.6, solve that. 85.6, okay, minus what is 3 times, so we have 12, everyone, that means 7, and then 3. Okay, it's minus, we have 4, we have here as 8, and here as 4. So we have 48.4. So after finding these 3, let us now find which can relocate the score, which is 63.8. So saan hahanapin yung 63.8 na yan? It lies between the score 1 standard deviation below the mean and the score 2 standard deviation below the mean. Okay, so in an equation we can use as this: 63.8 is greater than the 2, is 2 standard deviation below the mean, but less than 1 standard deviation below the mean. So this will be our two answers. It can be a statement or an equation or an inequality. Okay, that is how we can find the approximate location. Approximate location. Now, on the first part of our video, I showed you a function or the density function, right? So I have here an example for that one. That's our mean, the probability density function of a normal distribution whose mean is 12 and standard deviation as 3. So as I have said a while ago, that we will just find the function itself, not the answer or the value of the function. Okay? So paano makuha yung kanyang density function? We have the first step, determine the function to be used. Of course, we will use this kind of formula. Okay? Substitute the given values of the variables. Okay? So ano yung mga variables na yan? Meron tayong dalawa. We have the mean, which is 12, and the standard deviation, which is 3. And we will use those two numbers na ilalagay natin doon sa loob ng ating density function formula. So thus we have f of x equals 1 over 3. So napalitan na natin sa standard deviation. And then 2 pi e raised to negative 1 half multiplied by x minus 12. So yung 12 doon is napalitan na siya. Ay, ang pinalitan niya yung mean na symbol over 3 square. Okay, so this will be the final answer. Sabihin niyo, sir, paano naging final answer yan? Paano napalitan yung parts na nandito? Okay, so I will put that one. So we will concentrate on this part kasi ito lang naman yung napalitan sa pagdating sa baba. Tama? So we have negative 1 half times x minus 12 over 3 squared. Correct? Now, since we already know how to use the power law in exponential functions, so paano siya gagamitin dito? Since we have a fraction, mapupunta yung squared sa taas at sa baba. Okay? So magiging negative 1 half multiplied by the squared of x minus 12. Or para mas madali, ayan, hindi ko na siya i-expand. Okay? Over 3 squared, which is 9. Tama? Then now, let us hanapin natin yung pinaka-simplest form niya. So negative 1 times x minus 12 is also x minus 12. So I will just put negative 1 over, so nandito si x minus 12 squared. Okay, then sa ating denominator, we have 9 times 2, which is 18. Okay, that's why we got this kind of equation. Okay, paano siya naging ganon para mas maintindihan nyo para siya na-simplify. Okay, again, so density function, we are just finding its function itself, hindi yung kanyang value. So, sabihin ng sir, ito final answer? Yes, that will be the final answer. Okay? I will tell you if you need to find the value. But for now, it's only the density function. Okay? So again, to find the density function, alam dapat muna natin yung formula. Excuse me. Yung formula. And then, we will substitute the values of mean and the value of standard deviation doon sa ating formula. And then just simply find. Okay? Okay, let's try this one. Determine the probability density function of a normal distribution whose mean is 12 and the standard deviation is 3. Hindi kasi ako makasulat dito. Dito sa tablet. Okay. So again, you need to memorize. You need to memorize the formula, which we have. Ano, 12-3, 12-3, 12-3. Okay, stop sharing ko muna to. I will use the yung ating whiteboard. So we have yung ating kaninang mean. Okay? Yung mean natin. Paano ko makasulat? Ano nangyari dito? nakasulat. Okay. Okay. So we'll put here, our formula is, so let's mouse. F of x equals, ano yung nasa taas natin kanina? Nasa taas natin kanina is uh, 1 over 3 2 pi. 1 over 3 square root of 2 pi e raised to negative 1/2, and then x minus, is it minus? Yes, minus mean over 3, oops, over, it's not 3, sort ko muna yung formula pa. Okon natin. Ito yung standard deviation, and then squared. Okay, so let us now put the values of mean and value of standard deviation. So I'll just copy again, 1 over, ang ating standard deviation is 3, square root of, yung 2 dito, it must be 12. Okay, so this will be your individual practice, and this will be your activity that I will send to QSA, and then you can um, give me your activity until next Saturday. Okay, bye.